the background of the member we might be looking for to join. Just any thoughts from people on that?
I think that's a good idea. And occasionally someone will pop into my mind who I think might be good. So I'll just keep that tally somewhere.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so our first order of business is the approval of the minutes.
I would like to record the meeting.
That's fine, Dick.
Thank you.
So the minutes from November 10th, could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I think Janet's trying to, but she's muted, so I'll move to approve while she.
Okay, second. Is there a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion? Any modifications or? No? Okay, seeing none, I will move to a roll call vote. Alex?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Rosie?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Zilly?
Aye.
And Lynn, aye. So the minutes pass unanimously. Thank you. Okay, for old business, we had updates from our last meeting. I think we've got 4 sets of updates. I'm not taking them in any particular order, but we have Sarah and Zilly. I thought maybe could just give us an update on the holiday on the green, including the lights that were involved in that. Could we start with that? That's a really fun one and got some good things to talk about. Would you guys like to?
You want to go, Sarah?
You can go first. I can go second, whatever.
I mean, I didn't really plan. I'm hoping that people got to see, if you didn't get to see it live, it is recorded, but the Holiday on the Green event, I would say went over great. We got very lucky that the weather turned to snow at least, right? So I'm calling that lucky. I'm calling the nor'easter weather lucky because it was
so 2020. Right?
I texted Lynn at around 3:30 when I looked out the window and saw snowflakes and said, yes, some prayers have been answered. So I don't know how much in depth you want to go, Lynn, but I was blown away by the generosity of businesses that donated to the raffle baskets. So, something new we tried this year was having the raffle bins in some of the businesses where the little boy a child, and it turned out to be a little boy, could win a ride in the fire truck with Santa to go and light the trees downtown. And then we thought Lynn thought there should be an adult one too. So while we were out and about, we asked if people wanted to donate, ended up having 2 baskets worth over $500 worth of donated items and gift certificates, which was pretty crazy. So Kevin and Lynn and all of the people down at Town Hall did an amazing job, I think. If you watch the video back, it has a very village feel is what I'm calling it.
Someone said Dickens-like because it was kind of dark and the style of the building.
So I'm calling it a village vibe, but the dance performance and the singers were outstanding. And the videos that Rosie's daughter Zoe put together, I just can't get over how cute and lovely and community building those turned out to be. The dance montage was such a fun idea. And Dick and Lynn, your little moment with the select board in that video was, those dance moves.
We had a cut. Zoe actually cut out our Superman. We had a whole beginning part, but I guess it didn't make it. It was ended on the floor.
Sarah, what else should we?
I would just say, I think that it did what we intended for it to do, which was, bring in the businesses and create a sense of community. And I really feel like it accomplished that. So. Yeah,
I would agree. Because we were looking to support our local businesses to try to get traffic into the stores, to get people excited about going in. That was kind of the one of the points of the raffle. And the other was to bring a smile to the face of people in town with everything that they've been going through. And Griffin's face alone, the little boy who got selected, just precious. So I think that did it. I think the performers were really entertaining, and they really had fun inside there. I think we had as much laughter as I've had in a long time with the whole thing behind the scenes. And then the videos, they just lived on. So I think that is, yeah. So I think the ECDC did their part in helping to make the Holiday on the Green, the virtual one, a big success. And then we'll hand it back to the regular Holiday on the Green committee next year to pick up. And hopefully, as we said, incorporate some of the things that we came up with this year, because we think they're good ideas that could be, done again next year. So thank you for that. And then just about the lights, Sarah, TCP.
Right. So we, TCP made a donation to the town. However, I believe those funds are going to be used for next year's lights and to upgrade to a commercial level. And but they do look beautiful this year, Kevin. The crew did a great job. They look much more professionally strong.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we had a beautiful Saturday and Sunday a few weekends ago where police department, fire department, DPW volunteers got together, socially distancing, and got some equipment. We were able to put them up. Big kudos to Chief Hovey, who made multiple trips to Home Depot to make sure we had the lights we needed to make it happen. And I think the night before, he was even putting on the lights on the sleigh and testing everything and making sure it was ready to go. To Sarah's point, though, the long-term vision would be to, because the ones we put up there are not commercial grade and they're not meant to stay up all year. And so one of the things we've talked about is exploring with some commercial grade lighting that could have a little more longevity, a little more bang for our dollars, and potentially even minimize the amount of labor associated with hanging lights, and or possibly even having a little bit more lights or done a little bit more over more weekends to allow us to do it even better if we can. Although the guys did a fantastic job. I don't know how much better they can do, but we're going to explore all the different options using those funds. We're very grateful. So thank you to the TCP and to you, Sarah, for your leadership.
Yeah, two other points that Kevin had mentioned before and that his team was discussing was standardizing the color of the lights. We're talking kind of like a Wellesley white, that rich kind of white, and then expanding where the lights go to kind of be like a runway coming into town, into downtown, inviting people to come in. So yeah, I think, did we use any of the funds then? Did Chief use some of them for this year, Kevin?
We had $1,729 left in the Holiday and the Green Light account, which was voted by the Parks and Cemetery Commission to be transitioned to the town to be able to use for the lighting. And so that's the funds we were able to use. We do still have a balance, so we still have some money that we will be able to couple with the funds we're receiving from TCP to make sure that we have holiday lights for a long time to come, which is exciting.
That's great. And Kim was working with Martha and the Topsfield Garden Club to create all the beautiful decorations at the town hall and at the gazebo and the planters. So all of that just looked beautiful. And a thank you to the Garden Club, Martha, for funding that.
Thanks. That's our civic beautification. There is a small army that puts those up. And we can thank Kim for helping to organize that. And you recognize many of the individuals. It's not just members, but it's the auxiliary that comes along to help with their ladders and trucks and stuff. So we have fun. It's an annual event. We're glad you like the trees.
Yeah, those little mini trees in the planters, Kim, look great.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, they do look great. Martha did a great job making all the bows and getting those trees. It's such a good deal. And they're what we've had.
Martha's really good at that.
The negotiator.
We have, just so you know, and looking forward to future decorations, we have long established relationships with wholesalers who are able to get us a lot of this material at reduced prices. So if we're thinking about future decorations, on the lamp posts, I mean, if you want to hang wreaths on the lamp posts or something like that, we had, how many, 9 dozen, 10 dozen wreaths delivered here to my house this year. I mean, that's standardly what we do. So we can always throw in extras, if the town needs wreaths.
Great. So that's kind of a good segue to you, Kim, to talk about all the analysis that you did relative to the flowers for the solar lights.
Oh, okay. Can I just go back 1 second? Because you talked about getting standardized color of lights, and you said Wellesley white. What exactly is a Wellesley white?
It's not the glary bluish light. It's kind of the white that's up there right now. So it has a
light. Is that what is it like that?
What? I'm sorry, what?
Is it an incandescent-esque type looking light, like a warm light? A warmer white. Similar to what we have up on the trees right now. So it's just not going the harsh blue, but just the slight softer. Yeah.
There was a conversation at one point when we were purchasing bluer lights, like the LED kind, or going with the, as Lynn referred to them, we were calling them throughout the process the Wellesley white, but it's a soft white basically. What you see typically when you go around, most of the homes have them, for example.
I think they call it warm white. When you go and you have a choice, it's the regular LED, or it's what they call warm white. But whatever, do let us know, because we put the lights on the gazebo, and we like to have the lights on the gazebo match as best as possible whatever else is downtown.
And it also brings up another lighting issue that I just want to bring up. In front of the library, there are 4 lanterns. And there's across the street in front of the Proctor and Town Hall, there's also a lantern. And they've just been put new light bulbs in those, which I think is great, because 4 out of the 5 were, they were out. But the light bulbs that they put in are so bright that I feel they need to go down a couple thousand kelvins on the lighting. I mean, it's as bright as Stop and Shop parking lot. If you drive down, I'm not kidding. Drive down. I mean, it's great because it's lit up. They've probably been out for years,
Kevin, do you know anything about those lights and what was selected? Is it on a trial basis? Because we talked before about changing out the lights along the street, and we wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to see what it looked like before we pulled the trigger.
So I'm not aware of those lights being replaced. I think somebody must have just saw they were out, picked up some lights. I will certainly take a look at those and put some eyes on it tomorrow after work. And one of the things we're working on is planning for possibly doing a light retrofit throughout town, and taking the existing extremely soft white lights that exist, the almost orange lights, and putting in high efficiency lights in there. And with that, there's multiple, I guess, volumes or how bright the lights will be that we're somewhat experimenting with. There's actually 2 right now, 2 heads of the lights, one in front of Town Hall and one across the intersection heading down 97 towards the fire station, that have been replaced by National Grid at our request, so that we could look at a couple of examples of what the different types of light colors would look like. Now, these are the street lights, the large street lights that hang off of the utility poles. And I know that, Kim, you're talking about those ornamental colonial style lights that are the Proctor in the library, which are a little bit different, but all those lights should ideally be standardized to a very similar, not the same brightness and color.
Okay. Kim, do you want to give us your readout? That was a very comprehensive document. Thank you for all your work and looking into the various vendors for the flowers and the maintenance.
Right. Okay. Well, I just, we've got 3 vendors to quote for doing the hanging baskets for next summer. But I guess we should back up. We're going to be ordering. I'm not sure. This is a question to Kevin and Lynn. Are we going ahead and ordering the self-watering hanging baskets and the planters that I sent quotes to you last week? Am I muted?
No, we got you, Kim. I was just letting you finish. So I know you sent those over. I had a chance to take a look at them. I haven't looked at them in depth, and I was actually hoping we could talk through it as a group tonight, what you've done for the different options locally versus that self-watering planter, or if they're exclusive of each other and you can still purchase one or the other. We have purchased, after the conversation with the vendor, Steve from Noonan's, the baskets that were identified at that time as the ones to look at. They were $900. We used the grant funds from the shared street to purchase those. But if we have something that's significantly better and we can find the funding to purchase them, we certainly will take a hard look at it. But that's sort of, I guess, where we are today. And I'll certainly let you, Kim, kind of talk through what you did for research on that and the details on the self-watering option as well.
Question? I have a question. Kevin, so we actually have purchased the Liberty baskets through Noonan's?
We did. So when we left on the street that day, we wanted to move and get that purchase happening. We held off on the committing to the quote or proposal that we received in addition to that one for the maintenance and purchasing of the flowers. We held that one off. We were going to have that conversation as well about self-watering internally or having it done professionally on our behalf. And I think the more we've thought about it, I think ideally we would like to go in the direction where we do it the first time and make sure we do it right, and having a vendor help us with it. Because I know, we don't have necessarily any flower experts, and we want to make sure if we're going to spend the money, we get a good product out of it as well. So, so I think that's sort of where we are. We did purchase those baskets.
Those were purchased, Kim, actually before you had done your analysis. So
I've asked that, and they said they weren't purchased. So it's fine. I'm just going to have to just review to see. I'm just going to have to review. Well, I think we're going to go ahead with Noonan's anyway, so I don't need to review. I was going to review the other two quotes, but it doesn't matter. But anybody, what we're talking about is there's these hanging baskets that hold 2 gallons of water in the bottom. There's a 2-gallon reservoir in them, and they're 16 inches wide, which fit into the hoops that we're getting, and they're about I don't know how deep they are, but because of the 2 gallons, it's a continual water. They would still need to be watered 3 times a week, but it's the drying out factor and the evaporation factor is not as great as just having a basket lined with, the cocoa liner. So something to look forward to. A lot of towns do those. A lot of cities do them around the country. And they seem like a really good product. I mean, going forward to do those. I was concerned about the weight of them, because having them filled with water, the reservoir filled with water, and a wet soil, it's about 50 pounds. But the brackets will hold those, so maybe in the future we want to go that way. So that's what that is about. And what we did also, Kevin, I don't know where you are with the planters that sit on the streetscape at all. Do you want to talk about that?
Before we do the planters, Kevin, if we just go back, so Kim, because everybody else doesn't know who you looked at, we were going to get 3 quotes.
Okay.
Just to compare who would be the best florist.
Okay, so we've done Noonan's, and Noonan's is one, and Greenskeepers New England, a gentleman by the name of Chad Mental. he does all the Institution for Savings Bank, the Provident Bank, all the Christmas decorations, downtown Newburyport, all over the North Shore. I mean, it's just really exciting to talk to. But his price for maintenance is very high. I think his planting was very reasonable. And the third one is Holiday Tree Farm, which is out of Topsfield, as you all should know. They've been doing the Topsfield Main Street Foundation planting for the last decade, if not more. So she came up with Terry Twinnell, who owns it. She came up with a really good price for plantings, but they don't want to do the maintenance because they do not have the equipment to do a hanging basket. So what I was doing is, because I really, really would love to have Terry do it for us. She's just so great, and just having a local farm, keep within our rural Topsfield. I was doing a lot of research on having other companies and having other farms do this portion of having the planting, and I pretty much found, like, I talked to the person who's in charge of the fairgrounds at the Flower Barn, and he gave me another person who does the fair, because they do a great job, and she would be interested, but forget about September, plate's full. So I was talking to the head of maintenance over at the fairgrounds, and he was telling me, why don't you just get a water trailer? So I think I sent you that. I don't know if you looked at it, Kevin and Lynn and Martha.
Yeah, I saw it.
What a water trailer is like. It would hitch onto the back of a vehicle, a truck, a utility vehicle, a tractor, so that, if the highway department, if they don't want to buy, they're not going to buy a new truck. We've talked about they needed a dedicated truck to have a big reservoir on the back of it. But if you got this trailer, you wouldn't need that. You could just put it on a vehicle, or a gate, or utility vehicle, or like the tractor, and just go around and water these hanging baskets. So I did call the company. I talked to them about what they use, and he was suggesting a single axle that holds 500 gallons. For what we were looking at, it would probably be a good thing, and that's about $6,000 to get one of those delivered. So, a couple of years, it would pay for itself. So on the quotes, going back to the prices of the three, I'm going to go with the plantings for each of them is about, and I'm just rounding it, probably about $2,500 for planting. And the watering is where the big divide is. Noonan's has the watering at $3,400, which would be a total for the year of doing the planting and the watering and feeding. When I say water, also mean fertilizing, $5,800. And then the greenskeeper, again, their planting is about $3,000, but their maintenance is $10,000. So that's $13,000 for the summer. And then Holiday Tree Farm, the planting is $1,840. And so I did a little bit of math. If we did have, and I don't know if you want me to go ahead, what I think, if the town took over the watering of this for the summer, it's we're looking at about 12 hours a week. And if you had a minimum wage, I put $15 an hour. So you're talking probably about $180 a week for labor on this. Over the course of about 20 weeks, it's $3,600, which is pretty much where Noonan's is coming right in on what they would charge. So that's where we're at. I don't know what Gary, what the budget is for the town to do it, and if you even need that many hours to water, you probably do, though. I mean, 40 baskets It's probably 3 hours each time you're out there.
So it just high level, Kevin, it appears to me that we've got a decision to make this year, which I think we were leaning towards have the watering outsourced just so that we can do it right. And we're not in a position right now to really handle that. But next year, the decision on who we go with for a florist could be very different if we decide to do the watering ourselves. So we're really making the decision for this year. So if we said we really would like to do something local and go with Holiday Tree Farm, and they have the best price on the flowers, that could be a possibility for next year if we decide to do the watering ourselves. But for this year, it looks like there really isn't much of a decision. From Kim's research, it looks like Noonan's is the way to go. It's $5,800 compared to $13,000, or Holiday Tree that doesn't do any water maintenance. Is that?
Can I ask a question?
Yep, Sarah.
I have a question about the baskets that the town purchased. I know that we use the grant funding and that there, is a time associated that we need to use those funds. But I mean, can we return those baskets? Like if we wanted to go with the self-watering ones, or is that ship sailed?
Kim, I think I saw the price tag when you sent that over when I looked at the self-watering. I didn't get into great detail, and I know you sent me a couple other quotes that night for other things like the other planters. What was the cost on the self-watering for 20 of those 16-inch self-watering pots or cages?
Kim, did you hear?
Sorry, my internet's screwing up.
What is the cost, Kim, for those self-watering pots, the 20 of them?
Oh, okay. That's a good question.
While Kim's looking for that, I'll just mention, Sarah, that whether we purchased those baskets for $900 or not, we would have lost the money from the grant because the time expired.
Got
so
it. Okay.
There was no downside in purchasing them because we would have lost the $900 anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's worth noting as our budget and our expenditures associated with that shared street grant, we got closer and closer. The grant, we're technically supposed to have everything completed by the end of October. Well, there was recommended we have it completed by the end of October. The award letter said end of December. November 30th or 29th, I received an email from Shared Street saying they've moved up their final submission paperwork required for the grant to December 1st. So I had about a 48-hour window to sort of pull back and say, all right, this is the final number. And kudos to Martha and Kim, because we worked really hard on, and we'll talk maybe about that next, about getting some funding that allows us to get sort of a placeholder so we can make an additional purchase before the end of the calendar year. When we went and decided the 16-inch bracket was, 16-inch bracket was the right size. And we looked at the cage that Noonan's was providing. Once we could confirmed the 16-inch bracket could be delivered in time from the vendor, because that was being purchased through that same shared street grant. We moved on that pretty quickly because of the lead time.
Yeah.
And once we moved on that, we knew the 16-inch, and we had talked about that basket being the option of choice at that time. We moved on that as well, just to make sure that $900 would be spoken for out of the grant. As for returning it, I don't know the answer to that question. And the reason I was asking Kim about the cost of the self-watering is I'm wondering what that delta is between the basic basket and the self-watering. I'm imagining it might be significant if I remember what I saw.
Yeah,
But
it is. It's 100 and it's $119 a basket. So we were looking at it. Plus they had discount. The month of December they have a discount. So for 40 baskets it'd be $5,022.
Okay.
For 40.
Martha, did you have a point?
Well, it was just that I scrounged around and found the quote that Kim had sent. So yes, $5,022 for the 40 self-watering baskets.
And the other one was 900, right?
Okay. Well, I think a question.
Lifetime warranty. I mean, it's really quite the product. And again, going forward, maybe it's something you want to think about.
Kim, did that reduce the amount of time how many times a week or in a day you have to go and water the plants with the self-watering? What's the actual manpower or woman power that's needed to maintain the watering? The 2 gallons.
It's that's the thing. It's the same. It's according to their spec sheet, it's 3 to 4 times a week.
That does not seem like a great advantage, because I thought that the manual watering would be almost every other day, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, as opposed to 3 times a week. It doesn't seem like you're saving that much.
Well, these are, I think it's with these, you can get, forget it. It doesn't seem like that. I mean, when we go ahead and talk about the planters that would go on the streets, it's a big difference in labor of watering those compared to this. These are they're a lifetime guarantee. They're UV protected. You can stack them at the end of the season. It's what they use in a lot of towns and all throughout New England. They're deep, so that you can the plants will get a better root growth on them. Whereas the ones that we're getting from Noonan's, they're only 7 inches deep at the center, and that's not a lot of space for roots to develop and get strong. So
Martha?
Yeah, I'd just like to support Kim here. This product is far superior product to the Liberty baskets. Now, the Liberty baskets are going to have a limited lifespan. That they certainly the liner will have to be replaced maybe every 2 years or so. They're more fragile. Not that they're going to bend or twist or anything initially, but I think that they have a more limited lifespan than these self-watering planters. The other thing is that the self-watering planters have a kind of a nozzle thing on the side so that the watering is done directly into the bottom of the pot. And so you don't have water breaking the plant or squashing the plant or scorching the plant as you're watering it, as you do when you water overhead. So it's the price, you get what you pay for. That the price reflects the fact that this is a really superior product. So I have a little suggestion, and I think Kim's probably going to make this about the planters. If we have enough money in the grant, and we can use it for these things, I would kind of suggest that we actually buy some of these self-watering planters, perhaps not to be used this year with Noonan's, but to have in reserve when we have to start replacing the Liberty baskets. It's just a thought. If we can afford, we store them someplace where they're safe, and then when we need them, we can bring them out. A thought.
Can we talk just about the amount for the planters, Kim? How much to purchase the planters you identified, and then we could see how much money we might have extra, Kevin. How much do we have remaining in the grant?
At this point, everything that's been reported has been itemized. So there's about $13,000 that is in contingency, but it hasn't been spoken for in the reporting that I had to report back because we didn't.
Did you put in anything for planters in the report?
For the ground level planters, I did. Kim did a great job in getting a good hard quote, dated December 1, which helps. And now next step will be, now that we've put that in there, it's in the report. We've got a couple of weeks to hopefully put that in and have those. But want to be thorough and make sure we make good decisions on what to purchase. And we've had some good conversations about what that option might look like. That's sort of the placeholder at the moment. But
would it raise any eyebrows if we put in extra money, as Martha mentioned, to buy some of these self-watering buckets for the solar lights when we already put in money to buy 40 baskets for solar lights? Are they going to say, why are you buying more than 40?
I'm not entirely sure. I would probably we've been working with a consultant on this grant who's close to the people working on it, and I'd probably have to have a conversation with him if he thinks that if we wanted to take and draw down from the contingency, but that wasn't spoken for in the final report. Is that problematic or not?
Okay. Well, probably just for the sake of time, I think if there's anything more, Kim, to add, we could probably discuss this offline when Kevin talks to the consultant and see if that's an option to get in some of the self-watering for the solar lights. Is your recommendation then to go with Noonan for both the flowers and the watering for this year?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And the recommendation for the planters, how many did you identify for the grant on the ground?
For the grant, we did 20, well, a total of 21 planters.
21. Okay. Okay. Did anyone have any question for anything that we discussed about the flowers, or something to add for the offline discussion now for Kevin to look at relative to the contingency?
Yeah, well, I just had, I mentioned this to, I don't remember who, when, but I didn't know if, and it doesn't need to be for right away, but just to kind of tuck into our minds if we're having this kind of uniform approach to doing plantings in town, with businesses that might like the idea but not have the skill set that Lux Nails has, for example, of making it look so beautiful in the front of their store. I'm thinking of it sort of like a condo fee structure. If we ever want to think about offering businesses and saying, if you're interested in having installed planters that are hanging in the front of the store, or planters in front of your store on the ground in a place that makes sense, but you don't know how to do it, for this amount of money, you can participate and join the town's program and have them do it for you. So it's a whole nother layer to all of this, but just something that's been on my mind as I,
make it easy for them, right, Silly? So basically say, you want to participate, you write a check, we'll take care of the rest and make it uniform.
Yep. Thank you for saying it simpler.
Good idea, for sure.
I just want to say these planters, just to let you know that they're also self-watering, and they have about an 18-gallon, trying to think, maybe not 18-gallon, but several gallons of a reservoir. And I'm not, but for some reason 18 is sticking out, but it says that they just need to be watered every 3 weeks. So every 2 to 3 weeks. That is a lot cheaper than what we are spending, well, what the Main Street Foundation has in the past spent on watering, because they were out there every other day. And, there's on summers that there's drought, we're talking $4,000 that we spent for water.
So Kevin, is that a done deal? The 21 that Kim identified, the planters on the ground, they're in the grant, we'll be getting them?
The dollars have been spoken for. If we wanted to audible, those were a more conservative estimate too of the different versions we looked at. Like, these are self-watering where the typical planter might not be. And so we have some flexibility, but we need to make decisions pretty quickly for the sake of the grant purpose.
What remains to be decided on relative to the planters?
The planters.
Well, it sounds like Kim is recommending them. We had the money identified in the grant. Is there something open to finally make that decision and just go ahead and purchase them?
I just wanted to make sure as many people as possible had a chance to sort of take a look at it and make sure we weren't missing anything. We have the VHB project going on as well. I think we're scheduled this week, maybe early next, to talk about some of the sketches and designs that they've started a preliminary effort on. That might lend us to a conversation about the direction we're heading on with planters, help them in their design, and also make sure we're not going in an opposite direction as well. And I'd love to get their input on that part of it as well. So that it was just making sure. I wanted to make sure we reviewed it, make sure everybody Kim's done an amazing job and has gotten us to a great spot. The most important thing was I called, full disclosure, called Kim. I said, we got 24 hours to figure this out. I just got a notice we got to submit this. And talked with Martha, talked with Kim. Kim ran with it, did some amazing work, got the numbers to me. So when I held off in submitting that grant literally to the final hour, I think it was like 10:30 or 11 at night, the night before it was due. Got the number, plugged it in, hit submit, and here we are. So, Kim, thanks for dropping everything for me.
Anything for the town, right? Just to let you know, it is an 18-gallon water capacity on these planters. That's just to let you know for self.
Kevin,
I have a couple questions.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sarah.
So the quote for the plantings, that includes the 40 baskets plus the 20 planters? No, that's just the baskets?
Just the baskets.
What is going in the planters?
I don't think we've gotten there yet.
Okay.
We're just getting planters to use that money. So we have
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, that
And
was.
these are to replace the existing planters that are several years old from the Main Street Foundation, the ones that have the cute Christmas trees in them now?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Oh, and then I had one other question about for the light posts. Would there be a separate quote? This is just for a single planting in the spring that would go through to the fall, or?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. And then in the winter, there might be like a separate amount we would pay to do some kind of winter planting.
Yeah, he gave us a quote for that. Noonan's did. It's separate.
Okay, I remember seeing that. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I got.
Kevin, do we have to buy the baskets by a certain time? What we put in the grant, the planters on the ground?
Well, the price that I gave you is good until the end of the month.
And that's in my mind, talking with Jason, the consultant, I double checked with him. He said, buy the planters, go ahead. It was the day after. And he said, just buy them. When you're ready, purchase them. But the end of the year is absolutely, we need to have those purchased by then. And ideally in transit or with us in hand so that we can be within the guidelines as I understand them.
Can I just have one thing. When I was talking to the vendor who does these, he's out of Albany area. No, actually, yeah, Albany, the Adirondack area of New York, so up higher. He does all over the country, but his biggest state right now is Massachusetts. He has 22 towns going with these. So,
Kim, do you know which town specifically? It would be great to talk to some of the other communities and just get a sense for how they got to what they got to.
No, I probably could call him and talk to him if you want me to.
That's okay. If you do
right now, I have his cell.
If you do have if you have another conversation with them at some point, and it possibly will as we start to dig in deeper and getting ready to make that purchase, it would probably be good to understand what communities are doing it. If they've already purchased them, they have them out. We could even take a field trip and take a look at them.
Sure. I have a question, Lynn.
Yep, Janet.
I have a quick. Is there some reason we're getting 21? Kim, in the past, like our Main Street planters, we've only used maybe 14 or 15. Are we going to have like more? I mean, obviously more locations for the planters.
What we discussed is to put them out on the street like we did the hay bales. So the crosswalks would have 2 on each side of the crosswalk.
Oh, okay.
It would be the street curb extension in the meantime until we get, real curb extensions. These are very heavy when they're filled with water. You're talking about 300 pounds, so you're not going to have, kids pushing them over at night. But towns do use these. You usually see them on sidewalks than on the street. So we figured after that we will be able to use these on the sidewalks after we have the curb extensions. Curb extension.
Mhm.
So of course, I'm thinking we'll have the curb extension, there'll be plantings in there, we'll plop down a.
And Kevin, I have a question about the grant money. I mean, is that specifically something that had to have been used up, or can we have taken some of those funds and maybe use them for other things that the ECDC wants to look into, like renovating the Welcome to Topsfield sign or wayfaring signs? Could we have redirected some of that money towards these other efforts?
So I was going to give an update a little bit on a little later on in the meeting, but there's another grant that's going through Shared Streets that's coming up, which could be eligible for more permanent type treatments to downtowns that make them safer on a permanent basis. The one that we applied for, it was more of a temporary, semi-temporary type of solutions immediately to address COVID. You know, the parklets, the, you know, bump outs on the sidewalks, those types of things that could be done. When we received the award letter September 9th, they wanted the work to be substantially completed by October 9th. Many communities, because of COVID and the lead times, et cetera, associated with it to get product, they pushed it to the end of October. But again, we've got an award letter that says the end of December. So that's what I've been going off of. But then they audibled on that and they pushed the date up on us by a month. So we've it's been a moving target, I guess, Janet.
I guess so. Okay.
But that second grant might be the opportunity. I've been sort of thinking about if we can get VHB to give us a design, have that public meeting that might incorporate those bump outs or curb extensions. The permanent shared street grant, safer street grant. That grant could potentially fund something like that, depending on what the price to do it is, how many we're doing, and how much the awards could be for. But it's a very preliminary grant that I haven't done too much research at this point. I haven't had the time to, unfortunately. But from what speaking with Jason, our consultant, he talked to me about, he flagged it for me and he said, this is what it's for. So you keep your eyes and ears open for it.
Okay.
If it's okay with everybody, just in the interest of time, because we're coming up on an hour. So I think we've decided we'll go with Noonan's. Kevin, you can reach out and let them know that we've got the water maintenance contract with them, and we'll go with flowers for the spring. You've got the money in the grant for the planters, and there'll be some additional discussion with VHB related to that design. And you'll talk to the consultant to see about possibly buying some additional hanging baskets that have that design that Kim mentioned, and see if that's possible in the grant. I'm not sure if it is, but you'll take that offline.
Yeah, and I'd just say the two other things is the funding for those, for the maintenance and for the purchase of the flowers for the lights. TCP has stepped up, and just a big thank you again for the support on that. And then for the ground mounted or the ground planters, we would just have to, we don't have, I don't think at this time, I understand, is we don't have numbers for what those plants would look like, or a funding source at this time, but we'll do some more research. The most important thing is the grant funding and getting the product. And then we can figure out what the strategy is around that going forward, if it's what goes in there, et cetera. So
Kim, would you and Martha be interested in taking a look at what goes into the planters?
The hanging ones? Or
No, the on the ground planters.
Oh, the on the ground one. Well, I'm already thinking, and I'm sure Kim is already thinking this too, that the on the ground planters cry out for a holiday tree farm, because Terry does the most fabulous and gorgeous planters.
Well, if you guys could take a look at that, offline, and come back to us as to what you think should go into those, that would be fabulous. Jenna, are you shaking your head? Are you part of that too? Are you interested in working on that?
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay, that would be super.
Couple of things though. I mean, I fully support Holiday Tree Farm too, but just as long as it's consistent with whatever's on the light post.
Right. Absolutely.
And then the other, I just had a question. When do we need to make a deposit with Noonan's, and how much of a deposit do we need to make?
So I'm going to reach out to Noonan's this week. He asked us to give him a confirmation the week of the 7th if we were going to do it. So
Okay.
now that we have it, I'll get that information to you, Sarah, and I'll send you the quote that I received from them a couple months ago or a month and a half ago when we met him on site and subsequently got a number associated with what we were looking for. So.
Okay.
Great. And again, Kim, thank you so much. And Martha and everyone else who was involved.
Oh, not me. It was all
No,
Kim.
just all Kim. All right.
She did it all.
Kim.
You were
Thank
there,
you.
Martha.
Thank you so much.
Moral support.
All right, jumping over to Zilly and Kathleen. And Zilly, I apologize. I said I was going to send out to everybody the write-up that you did. And we're sitting here talking, going, I didn't send it. So I just sent it to everybody. It's in your box. But Zilly can speak to what I just sent.
Should I try? My thing has a thing that says share screen. Should I try it?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to try. Let's see how it goes. I guess I'll do this one.
Oh.
I haven't actually done this before.
There you go. Wow.
That works.
It's
Okay,
fun
so
to-
just ignore all the
Good
tabs
for,
that I have.
good for you.
I'm going to move you guys out of my way. Do you guys know how to do that? It took me so long to figure out that I could move the box that has the people, like minimize it and move it so you can see the whole screen in case it's blocking.
Hey, I'm a hello boomer. I have no idea.
Yeah. So do you see your own picture, your own image, like a strip of like a film strip? You know, the box that has the video of us, Janet?
That's okay. I see the draft. I see your
You see
draft.
enough of it. Okay. If you ever want
That's
to
all.
in the future, at the top of that, there's little buttons that make it smaller or bigger. And then you can also drag it and move it to a different part of your screen,
Okay.
which is great when someone's showing you a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is not anything fancy at all, but
Okay.
it's kind of me trying to put together. I wasn't, I'm never exactly sure what exactly you're looking for with these kinds of updates. So, but I was the one that had suggested trying to map out everything that we have going on in town. So, and I'm a big picture person, so I like to kind of scale back and just think about what exactly we're even talking about when we talk about cultural things. So I just looked up the definition relating to ideas, customs, and social behavior of a society and relating to the arts and to intellectual achievements. So those things work well with what we're doing. And then I thought about Topsfield. And of course, I had to use the analogy of a tree and how we have all these different branches. Those of you who've been involved for a while, when it comes to cultural events and programs and activities, home to lots of artists. That's all great sense of village. But I thought if we kind of map them out, especially the ones that are relatively consistent or have opportunities for cross promotion, we can better link them together to, I'm calling it the main trunk to go with my tree analogy, for more efficiently sharing resources together. Again, ECDC is just filling that role in my mind perfectly. Because so far, just from talking to Kathleen and just kind of thinking about my experience with different organizations and groups, a lot of things seem to, since I've become involved more actively in town, probably around the past, I would say 10 years or so, if you count just within schools as my starting place. A lot of things sometimes feel like they're working in silos of sorts. I'll talk to one group and then I'll talk to someone else and be shocked that they don't know what each other is doing. And I just don't, I use it. So I try to, like I said, kind of big picture thinker. And I feel like, well, why don't you collaborate? And those of you who know my work with the Earth Day events through Green Topsfield know, with Martha's help in a big way, just finding those connections and those synergies, we've done a lot of collaborating, but there could be a lot more on a bigger scale. So then I tried to make it a little bit smaller for you guys it doesn't let me when I'm in this mode. So I'm just thinking about who do we have in town? We've got that are consistently doing events that are related to culture and arts. So the Historical Society, often at the Gold Barn, but not always. Parson Capen House as well. The Town Library, the Town Cultural Council, the Town Garden Clubs, the one I'm the most familiar with, of course, is present company, Topsfield Garden Club, the Tri-Town Council, schools, and within the schools there are things like the Masco Music Parents, so all kinds of music, arts, and drama, the PTOs, TEF, for anyone who doesn't know, Topsfield Educational Foundation, Masconama Educational Foundation, and the Parent Advisory Council at Masco. Green Topsfield functions under the schools, but we span out beyond. The town departments, of course, police, fire, council on aging, health department, and I wasn't sure what to call, recreation parks. I know that's an evolving department. Town committees, Holiday on the Green. I listed conservation, just again, thinking more in the partnership mindset, not that they do events, but that they might participate in events. For example, at the expo, they health department or conservation commission will sometimes be there talking about what's going on in town. And I still have hopes that we will come back to putting a sustainability advisory committee somewhere into our town committees. Of course, businesses that I'm thinking like Creative Co-op, Art Room, the kinds of businesses that we used to have with International Martial Arts when they used to have programming for the community. Audubon, Stream Team, Essex County Trail Association, Rail Trail Group, Pitts Pond, Topsfield Fair, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, 4-H. That was like my big long brainstorm list of who have I interacted with over the years. Does anyone have any others that you're thinking of that you've done work with that should be added to this list? If you think of one later, you can let me know.
Yeah, Zilly, most of these people.
Maybe the Historical Society?
They're at the top.
They're at the top.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Zilly, almost all of these people are expo participants, basically all of these people show up at the expo and have their exhibitions and their, their information and so on. Most that I see. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether you want to include farms. Because, Valley View Farm does family farm days, and we work very hard at promoting local agriculture. That Northeast Harvest is based at the fairground, with the Essex Agricultural Society. But we have Valley View Farm, we have Connemara Farm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, with the apple picking, and they did a wonderful job this year. Making it safe, and they had family-friendly stuff going on there. So maybe, and all of the farms come to the expo. I mean, that they're all tied in some way with a lot of these other groups.
Plus, they have that Rails to Sales weekend, don't they?
That's Essex Heritage.
Essex Heritage.
That's Essex Heritage.
That's not Topsfield. I would put them sort of with Historical Society, because that's who they would work through typically.
I think this list is extremely comprehensive. It's wonderful. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I'd like to throw in the Ipswich River watershed. Because they're very active.
Yeah.
Well, they're based in Ipswich, but they're very active in Topsfield. And, and yes, the Stream Team is involved with them, but the Ipswich River watershed people also always show up for the expo, and that they're, very engaged in Topsfield, and they do family stuff, and they sponsor, things that happen in Topsfield on the Ipswich River.
Yeah. And they do programming in the schools through their greenscapes. Talking about what our water, where it comes from, how it's cleaned, how it's made safe, and then where it goes after, and how it watersheds into the river. Okay. So if you guys think of any others, let me know. I just feel like it's helpful for a group like ours to be aware of, these are basically, this to me is like the list of all the groups we could partner with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And collaborate with. So then I did what and when. So just looking at the year, because I thought sometimes it helps to see like this. If someone ever says, let's do something in April, I would say, no, we have way too much already going on in April. And it's right before town meeting when everybody's thinking about that. So pick another month. So this might help us if we're ever looking at events to see that in the spring. I'll talk about this in a minute. That's something new potentially just for this year. But
the expo has been running for 6 or 7 years, I think. We started very small.
Come on, Martha. How do you keep it? How do I lose track of time like that? Okay.
Arbor Day has been, the Nutters were the first to do it. I mean, we're talking probably 60 years now, believe it or not.
Okay, I was guessing based on my own age.
No, and the agricultural program at Proctor is only maybe 5 years. That's something new that we introduced about agriculture.
Oh, okay.
But just to, don't mean to be a nitpicker, but
that's why I'm doing this with you now, so you can tell me. This was me kind of. That's why it says draft at the top.
Right. I have a question for Kevin.
Yeah.
Because the garden club is already, we finished Christmas decorations, and we at this point start thinking about Expo. I am worried about whether we can hold an Expo in April. Our plan last year was to move it to Proctor School, both inside and out, because we had outgrown all of the space that we had. I'm not sure that the school would be interested in opening the school in April. I just don't know. I'm not sure that even our exhibitors, our members, or our visitors are going to feel comfortable in doing something in April. Do you have any sense, Kevin?
I think the big question will be what's allowed, right? So like today, obviously the governor announced rollbacks from phase 3, step 2 to phase 3, step 1. And, if the numbers continue to increase, you never know if it's going to be rolled back even further potentially. And so based on timelines from a vaccination standpoint, which is really going to be when I think all the limitations that exist will be loosened to a point where we might be able to have actual events like that. We're talking summer is what we're hearing, a reality of when things will get to a point where enough have been vaccinated that the rollbacks will be enough that we go back to somewhat of a normal time or normal times. So it's hard to say for sure. It's a little bit of a crystal ball, but reading the tea leaves and talking with some professionals, our health agent, state officials, other towns, cities, spring, summers is when we'll see, I think, most of the vaccination probably taking place.
Right. Yeah. And so we've also thought about the Arbor Day program, Silly. Last year, we weren't able to do it in the schools. So 4th grade didn't get little trees.
Yeah.
We were thinking this year, and it's up to the school, that it should definitely be, if at all, it should be an outdoor activity. And that somehow or another we maybe do 2 sessions so we get both last year's 4th grade and this year's 4th grade, so that no group of 4th graders misses out. And the same with the tomato project, our agricultural program. So all of this spring stuff that we do is kind of up in the air, and we're trying to figure out how we could do something. And so I'll throw out to all of you, we've talked about trying to do a virtual expo, do something with film, online, something. And that is something that we would need a lot of help with, to round people up, to do the work, because it would be really a massive, 70 exhibitors and vendors, that's our typical number. So I just throw it out. That's sort of where we stand in terms of our spring programming. And we're very unhappy about this, but, it is what it is. So anyone who has suggestions as how we can do some of this in some fashion, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thanks, Martha. Zilly, are you going to go through each of these? Are you looking for input tonight? Or do you want to just tell us structurally what's in here and kind of your next steps?
Yeah, I can do that. One thing I will say is if there's something that's really quick to plug in, you can tell me. Otherwise, please let me know what you want me to add like separately and I can put it in. And I've learned from like open meeting law stuff, I can't share the doc and let you edit it directly because we're on a committee together, but you can tell me what you can look at it and then tell me what you want me to change. So springtime stuff, and then we have moving into summer. I tried to put just parades, nature festivals, just a reference for us to see things like Relay for Life. It's not an arts thing, but it affects a lot of the community. It's a Masco fundraiser for cancer research. That's an overnight event. And then, of course, the Strawberry Festival. I thought this was long until I heard about the Arbor Day. So I'm putting everything in here, fire hose testing on the commons. Like that's not an official thing, but that's a thing that happens that we can build off of, and it has a lot of energy around it already. And then into the fall. Yeah, I'm just letting you guys kind of look and catch up.
Zilly, did you have the concert series? I know that there was 3 shows scheduled this year in the Common.
Yes.
Did you have that? Okay, you did. Perfect. I apologize, I missed that.
That's okay. I'm trying to,
Zilly, the library has, or maybe it's a historical society or both, but they'd always hosted that kind of doll tea party type event at the Gould Bar.
Is it a consistent time of year, month?
I think it was August.
Yeah, August is when it usually happens, I believe.
Right, I'm going to do a paper note because I don't want you guys to have to watch me try to
that's okay.
Yeah.
If you
But
want,
there used to be more stuff the library did, right? I just can't think right now.
Yeah,
the library has the ice cream social, summer reading kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a good one to remember. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then they have something that wraps it up, I think, at the end of the summer, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the end of the summer is not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I'm going to add those. I'm making written notes to add those in. Like
I will throw out that when we talk about the Topsfield Fair, floats are highly recommended. If you can get groups to do floats. We've had neighborhood groups in the past do floats, different clubs do floats, and that it is absolutely, as I say, it can be an absolutely wonderful thing to bring groups of people together. And one year, I think it was Kim, it was Pemberton. Wasn't it the Pemberton kids?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, Pemberton Road did a float for the neighborhood, and it was
Free-range children float.
delightful. It was absolutely wonderful. So
All grown up and in high school now, these kids.
right. But it's something, if we're talking about community building and fun and all of that, if you can get different neighborhoods or different clubs in town or groups in town to produce a float, that could be great.
that's a good community building activity.
Is there, I'm looking at the list and this is very comprehensive. So this is fantastic to have to reference. Is there anything like that's ever been done in Topsfield? We talked a little bit about the arts and trying to promote art. Is there anything like an art walk or like an arts fest or something where people outdoors could, walk downtown, we close the street off for a period of time or find a location and people could, art specific. I know we have a lot of agriculture and Topsfield rightfully so promotes that. But I know we've talked about arts and I don't know if that's something that's been done here.
It was Cultural Council, and actually it was Darcy who organized it. It was called Create Topsfield. Does anyone remember that?
Yes.
When was that, Martha? Do you know how long ago?
Maybe.
Well, Martha, maybe 7 or 8 years, 9 years ago.
Maybe 8 years ago. I know I've got the flyer in my computer, but it was an exhibit downtown. It was on the Common, and it was local artists and artisans, and it was really fun, and it was a nice thing.
There used to be an art auction, right, for ABC?
Yes. Yeah.
That was kind of a big.
ABC would have a big fundraiser with the more than art auction. It was art and vacation homes and that kind of thing. It was at the fairgrounds, and actually I went to one at the Coolidge Estate that has been empty for
I remember,
20 years.
Yeah.
That's right, Janet. Yeah, I remember.
I know. 2000.
Was the Great Topsfield a one-time event?
Yes, it was a one-time event. People signed up for it, and then you were accepted into the project, whatever it was. I'm sure I have some of the literature that I could send to you, Zilly.
Okay. I know that Jen LaRussa was trying to do one about 5 or 6 years ago. I think she might have been trying to build off of that, but then it didn't really fly. So there have been people who've been interested in that concept. It's something I think that would be appealing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me just, in the interest of time, then I just did, this is more for you guys to look at later, most of this, a little bit high level overview of some of the groups. I know that when I see a list like that, I don't necessarily want to see their whole website, but I might want to, I'm coming back to Cultural Council after. This is just sort of the mission of the Historical Society, and it lists a few of their programs that you might be interested in knowing that they do. Library, their strategic plan actually had some interesting things of note, but their newsletter is where you would find most of their current programming, but non-COVID times they do a lot. The Garden Club, Martha, this is a great, I'm assuming this is you, but this is a great, great summary of all the things that you offer throughout the year.
You found this on our website, didn't you?
I did. Yes. So all of this is just pulled from websites. And like I said, I was just kind of trying to put a lot of things in one place for any of you, now that it's been emailed to you, to reference, and we can keep updating it as we see fit. So that if we're thinking about doing something that's new or building off of something that exists, we look for synergies and look for natural partners that we can work with. So just to come back to the Cultural Council, since Kathleen's here tonight, we had a nice conversation, and there's definitely a lot of ways that we can collaborate. And I think that's something that maybe hasn't been happening as much prior to Kevin's arrival in Topsfield, is all I'll say about that. That I think just having a sense of mutual support and shared goals and wanting to work together is appreciated. So I summarized a little bit about just what we've talked about before that they do with the small grants and partnering with other groups. But this year, the Massachusetts Cultural Council has prioritized projects that address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and awareness and responses to issues of racial equity. So 2 things kind of out of that. One is that program that had been above, where they're looking to bring a speaker from Harbor Light Community Partners this spring, potentially, and just kind of maybe have a conversation about why Topsfield looks the way it does, which actually goes along with an Essex Heritage Foundation program that I've learned about that's doing a very similar kind of professional development for schools that are going to be looking at why a community like Lawrence looks so different from Georgetown. So it's just kind of looking at how zoning and housing affect those things. I know this isn't like arts, but I think it is culture, and I think it's something that can be a thread within other things that we do, and a partnering opportunity. And then there's also a lot of art for public art for money this year. And something I bolded here, because I think this is probably most relevant to what you were looking for when you asked me to do this, is I guess the Essex County Community Foundation is offering resources to map out where all the visual artists are in our community, what their medium is, and so forth. And Kathleen has already a very solid awareness of who's around in Topsfield and could help with that. And I think that could help us with any kinds of, if we did want to do some kind of an art walk that piggybacks on something else. I would love to also do that for musical artists, poets. I'm thinking open mic opportunities could be really fun. I'm seeing on Facebook that we have some people teaching themselves how to do more because they're trapped inside. So they're playing the guitar and writing songs. And that's something I think we could build off of here. So I guess that's kind of my summary. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Does that?
That was terrific, Silly. Oh my gosh, that was so much more than I even knew. I took a quick look at it, even though I didn't pass it on until just recently. And there were a number of things there I had no idea were even in town. So I would say there are a couple of action items out of this. One is for everybody to take a look at it and see if there's anything that Zilly might have missed that you know about that could be added to the inventory. Mm-hmm. Any new ideas or things that you'd like to highlight or expand on that we can talk about that should be a focus, and any other grant opportunities I think that we become aware of. Is there any other thoughts on the part of people for what we can do to kind of enhance and build on this to talk about moving forward at our next meeting and to take this the next step? Does that sound like something folks can do over the next month is take a look and try to enhance it and give their thoughts on what they consider to be priorities?
And I'm sorry I didn't have it ready before tonight to share. I got a little sidetracked with the holiday stuff.
I don't know why you've been so busy, Zilly.
I also, Kathleen did mention afterwards, and so something for Kevin to kind of have on his mind, that sometimes grant when you're applying for a grant, it often does help to be co-sponsoring events with other groups. So again, like another reason for this collaboration, this idea of collaboration. And I wanted to ask if maybe, I'm not sure, Lynn, how your agendas are looking moving forward, but I wondered about possibly if we have time during meetings to maybe invite representatives from different groups occasionally, like to do a little 15-minute, someone from the library one week, someone from the Historical Society another week, just so we all build that awareness, but also for them to feel that they know this group and what our intentions are. By inviting them to present, then they feel part of it. Something that you could think about.
Yeah, I like that idea. Would they focus on what they're doing, like what they're offering, or just, explaining a little bit more about their organization? Did you have a focus, or is it more just get to know each other a little bit better?
My thought was to ask them a little bit about, maybe we could think about helping them focus what they want to share with us, but focus on what they're doing that maybe they wish they had more partnership and collaboration on. Like, where are places where they're feeling that they could use more support? And then just also, what are they doing that they just want us to know?
I like that.
I agree. I think that's just a useful exercise for them and us to kind of level set and have their own goals and like kind of define them, and then see how we can help and vice versa. Right. So I think that's a great idea.
Thanks.
Yeah, good idea. Good one. I like it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Silly. That was fantastic. Just to keep us moving, because we're coming up on 8:00. Janet, did you have any update on your investigation on the movement of telephone poles?
I did. Kevin, did you get my email about how the contact person from Danvers, I contacted him numerous times and crickets. I never heard back from him. So I'm moving on. I think that's going to be a pie in the sky. That's a huge project. It's going to be millions of dollars. It's going to be 5 to 10 years if we're ever going to do it. It's going to be land taking and easements, and I think I'll be dead by then. So,
And if you weren't, that would probably kill you.
So I thought, oh my God, because I mean, I drove through Peabody just the other day. I had to pick up a mirror at the mirror company, Peabody Glass, and I'm driving through. I'm going, what's different about this downtown? There's not a telephone pole anywhere. It's all the pretty little street lights. It's probably all underground. So when you guys drive around, observe these towns, because it does make a huge difference, but it's a daunting task. And I'm not sure if it's something that we would ever be capable of. We would need to enlist, majority selectmen and everybody else, because we have to go. I mean, the advantage with Danvers is they have their own electric company. So they're already starting off. They own the telephone. They own the poles. I mean, here we don't own the poles. National Grid owns the poles. Then you have to deal with Verizon and Comcast and all the utilities. And it's just a major, major undertaking. So I turned my sights instead to signage. So when we get to that, that's what I didn't make much progress, but I did do a little research on signs.
Okay, thank you. And it makes sense probably to tie that into the master plan, which is not in the immediate future because the earmark did not go through. So it sounds like there's a lot that we can tackle that's with an immediate impact. So okay. I'll do one quick thing that I had promised you guys, and then Kevin, can I turn it over to you to give us an update on things that maybe we didn't discuss? One of my action items was to get back to you. I didn't email it to you, but just to let you know of everything that came in that was sent in relative to what the members thought, what we all thought were priorities for the town. There were 5 things where a number of people mentioned it, and it seems like none of this is going to be a surprise. First one was just what you said, Janet, signage. That was an issue. Wayfarer, wayfinding signs, getting people into the downtown, simplifying or getting rid of the clutter. The second was Main Street enhancements, and they ranged from the lamps to planters to banners, trying to make the frontage of the buildings consistent. So that all kind of I put under the Main Street enhancements. The third area was parklets or pocket parks or green space, really coming up with gathering spaces for the town. The fourth was to address the old DPW building and to make that into something that was productive and make the town a little more vital, some economic development. And I know Kevin can speak to that. And then the fifth one was increasing community events, which included the things we've talked about with the art and culture, recreation festivals. I put that all under the community events. So those were the 5 areas. The other things individuals had said were a priority, but that seemed to be a consistent theme, which also was in the strategic plan, which was good because we're hearing the same things from people in town and what we're thinking. So that was where the focus was for the priorities. So with that, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you. It's 2 minutes to 8.
All right, I'm gonna do my version of speed dating, I guess. We'll go quick. DPW garage segue. So we've been working a little bit to understand what's possible there from a zoning standpoint, frontage standpoint. Really what can we do? How do we get there? And we had a work session on Thursday with the select board where we discussed this and got a sense if it's something we wanted to pursue further. It was very positive, which is great. And so I've had a conversation with KP Law to let them know, because there's a lot of legal elements to going through the process. There'll be town meeting, there'll be a lot of discussion, but the most important thing is in all of this is having conversations with, for me, first and foremost, the immediate butters, but also the broader community. What do we want? What does the community feel that would be a right fit for that space, and what's possible? I always envision myself personally, and I say always, I guess in the last year since I've been here, but it's an opportunity for an anchor tenant. It's an opportunity to bring people into the downtown, whether it's something I've heard repeatedly since I've been here about a restaurant or maybe a pub or a tap room, brewery, something that activates the space. So we're working towards that, which is super exciting. Hopefully it could potentially be transformative. Won't happen overnight. There'll be a lot of process, RFPs, conversations, but we're going to start down that path, and it's exciting times. And I'm glad that we have the ECDC to kind of work through it as we go about it, because there'll be a place when we do public conversations that I'd like to lean on this group to help facilitate and manage that process as we go through it. But again, this is just sort of a preview of things to potentially come. There's more conversations that need to happen to start moving it. Zoning changes, for example, will need to be something that comes from the planning board, if that's something that they desire and see as a positive. And those are conversations that need to still be had as well. But we're working through that, and it's exciting. That's one that gets me really excited for what's happening downtown. Mm-hmm. Hi, Martha. Yeah, sure.
Yes, Kevin, I'm totally supportive of this. You know that. The planning board is already trying to figure out what is going to go to town meeting this year. And we need lead time. We need a lot of lead time because some of the things that we're talking about are complicated. And there's not to worry, we'll figure them out. But we need to know what we're doing with the old highway garage. I mean, if we have to move the business village boundary, which is basically what we would do, to include the old highway garage, we need to know, where do we stop? Are we subdividing this lot? What are we doing? How are we creating frontage? I mean, there's that whole thing. And so the sooner the better. We need to know what we're going to be presenting to town meeting.
Yeah, Martha, let me, it's actually you're on my to-do list. I just haven't had an opportunity yet. I wanted to give you a call and just talk through what I kind of explained tonight, but in more detail, and kind of walk through what next steps would look like. I think it would be appropriate to spend, 10, 15 minutes with KP at some point too, and just make sure, all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and we know what the game plan is and the steps needed. And I absolutely would love you to be right there next to me during the process and partnering as we move forward on it. So thank you.
Right. Well, we've begun investigation on the title to the property.
Oh, great. Oh, that's fantastic. I was one of the things I was going to ask you, because I know
we started that, and you'll all laugh at this. If you go to the old records, they're books, and they're handwritten books. And so I got back to the handwritten book that would tell me which book and page number would be involved. I think it was Nehemiah Cleveland or someone who did this. And don't you know, this is where the page is folded and you can't find the book and page number? I can't at Salem Deeds, and Salem Deeds, of course, you can't go there to look at them now. So, I mean, I got stopped there. But I do have David Merrill, who's a title attorney, retired, who was going to take on that project, and maybe he'll have more luck than I did. But I tried.
That's great news to hear that you guys are already running with that. That was number one on my list of things to discuss with you when I called you this week. So
that's as far as we got. So now we need some professional help.
That sounds good. So that's the DPW garage, the solar lights. We've dug, I think last time we met, had already dug the 17 additional holes, 2 left to dig. That's still the case. However, I talked with Gary Wilds today, our highway superintendent. We're going to be out there walking at some point this week to identify the last 2 spots. We know where they're going. There's a couple of, they're one's close to a gas line. The other there's some limitations. So we're just trying to figure out, a few inches this way, a few inches that way. I've gotten very involved with the very detailed locations of these. but I think it's, do it once, do it right. And I think we got a great team that we're talking about it with. And I feel very confident that the locations will be seen as a success. And Alex, thank you for your support as well. VHB, having a follow-up. I mentioned that earlier, that planning to have a follow-up conversation with them to see a progress check more than anything else and where they are. Planning to also update them on the efforts we're making, because we haven't stopped because they're working. We just want to make sure we're collaborating along the way. So should have an update on that, should have a timeline of how quickly they're going to move at this point. And then we need to schedule, I'd like to schedule, and this is another place where the ECDC will be helpful, help support facilitating a community conversation about the design that they come back with. But this is really important things that we can hold up, and from a design standpoint, say, we've got a vision. Let's go out for grants. Let's get the businesses behind us as we go forward with these projects. Because if everything's aligned, there's a game plan. Those are the things that will make a difference as we move forward. So excited for that. And again, Sarah, thank you, TCP, helping that effort. And then I I'm going to keep it short because of time, but the two things that I underlined and put exclamation marks: how do we help our businesses, and how do we come out of COVID and start thinking about attracting more businesses, right? So those are really important things that I always want to keep in mind. I mean, we're getting very granular with some of the conversations, and we need to. It's important. Things we're doing for the first time, or we're bringing back over since a while back. We want to get it right. But the bigger concept, the bigger goal is, want to ensure that the businesses that have been here, that have invested in this community, we're doing what we can to support them and identifying ways, what they need, right? And how we can support their efforts. But also, I really want to, with the DPW building and other efforts, want to make sure that we're supporting the building owners, the property owners, and the existing businesses to try to then bring more opportunities, more business downtown, because that's what's going to change. We can do the infrastructure, and that's part of the formula, but it really comes down to the entrepreneurs and the people behind those businesses, the people from outside the community might want to come in. That's really going to make it transformative. So those are the things I'm just trying to keep on the forefront as we talk about this, because you can certainly get very much into the details, but that's, I think, ultimately really the end game, hopefully, with all of what we're doing here. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity. There's a lot of other things happening right now, but I'll stop there because of time and because we've had a really great conversation tonight, and I appreciate everyone's updates, efforts, and collaboration.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Any last comments, questions, input? We can probably wrap up. I think we've covered
one last thing, which goes to what Kevin was just talking about. Lynn, we didn't talk about, so we're trying to just spread awareness for people to shop local Topsfield. I tried to start a hashtag, but I'm not very good at that. But anyway, I would just say to everyone, if you could just, encourage all your friends and families to try to do all of their holiday shopping here in town. We have great stores, and take pictures of it and put it on Instagram and Facebook and hashtag it with Shop Local Topsfield. And hopefully, that's one way that we definitely can support our businesses through this really tough winter.
That's a great point, Sarah. So someone from the TCP, along with Sarah, two people from the TCP, got that Shop Local going. And so there's a Secret Santa swap, of which Marshall and I are both members. And you apparently tell, the other person knows who their Secret Santa is. So I'm the Secret Santa for Marshall. So I got him something good. So it's already wrapped, ready to go. But yeah, it was actually fun to go into the various stores and try to pick something for someone in town. So you feel really good doing it. And I mentioned to them, I'm in the swap. I'm in the local swap. So I'm coming in here to find something for another resident, just to let the businesses know that we are doing something and that we're trying to, stir up excitement for shopping local as opposed to Amazon. Make it stop downtown first.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does the town of Topsfield have a town Facebook page other than the residents of Topsfield? Does it have an official Facebook page? Or like for community development, like where we could showcase the businesses and what they have. I mean, I know some of them have their own Facebook pages, but not everybody knows what they have and how to share that. So when I did the work with the Strawberry Festival, all the local artisans we use, I push them out on Instagram and Facebook, and I constantly share their work and their stuff. So if we, everybody's focused on, everybody's attention is Facebook for business. So if we don't have one of those, maybe we should look into kind of getting a community, not residents of Topsfield style, but like a community business Facebook page where the businesses can go and share what they have, their current stuff, any specials or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I've been talking with the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce, and not because Beverly's in their name, but because they represent a number of communities, Wenham, Hamilton, Beverly, and I've been inferring that, Topsfield's not represented, right? So something like that organization would be able to support, I think something like what you said, Rosalie, that could pull all the businesses in one location to promote what they're doing. Mm-hmm. That's something that's definitely lacking in Topsfield. Depending on who you talk to, some people might think it's valuable, others types of business might not. But I've sort of on the back behind the scenes have been sort of touting. I actually went to an e-board meeting the other day and talked about all the things we're working on, just to try to gin up some interest and excitement about what's happening in Topsfield. Cheerlead what's happening, and that's something that I think should be on the table for discussion too. Not tonight, but how do we do that in a way that's thoughtful? There's a playbook, right? It's been done before. How do we do it right? And I think part of it's an economic development planner could certainly help with that, and being some part of their efforts if we get to that point. We looked at that last year, and it didn't happen in the budget last year. It's something that we'll be discussing through the warrant articles this year, and seeing if it's something that should go to the floor of town meeting or not. But it's a great point. There's a real value to that, and there's third-party organizations that certainly can help. We just don't have that here, so maybe it is the town that at some point can help with it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We definitely need some.
Free advertisement for the businesses and for anybody that follows Town of Topsfield businesses that works here, or to let them know what's available here.
Our little box top shop, we're constantly saying, how do we let people know who we are, where we are? Some people they're on the face. I don't do Facebook, so they'll post it on the residence page. But I think it would be great to have a dedicated space for businesses in Topsfield. I think that would be wonderful.
And actually, Sarah, that was something you were talking about with TCP, with your website, trying to aggregate information about the businesses in town.
Right. Yes, I wanted to make a Visit Topsfield page
Mm-hmm.
that kind of not even more than the businesses, but like, what does Topsfield have to offer? Like, what are our parks and trails? Dining, shops, by category. And then, so that's kind of a longer term project.
There's probably room for both, for sure.
Yeah.
It's good for people in real estate to use.
Yes.
when you're selling a town.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Any other thoughts to close out the night with?
I will say just one thing, that because I feel like it's just a nice thought if we are doing the promoting shop local and support local. Something that's really kind of keeps coming into my mind is it's very much a mutually beneficial thing, because if anything we've learned through COVID, how many of us were like, thank goodness I can just pop downtown to get a few of the staples and not wait in line for 2 hours just for some eggs. So we need our businesses, and our businesses need us. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I'm trying to think of ways that we can, just keep reminding people of that.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I think we all have some action items. I will send these out before I send out the minutes, just as a kind of summation for what we're going to focus on until the next meeting. And if you have any particular items for the agenda next month, a particular organization, Zilly, as you were talking, that you think might be a good first one to kind of get that ball rolling, just let me know. And we'll just need what we call in the select board, our favorite motion of the night. Anyone want to make a favorite motion?
I move we adjourn.
Woo!
I second.
Oh, Sarah, I got
All
it.
right. I'm sure there's no discussion on that. So who seconded, by the way, Sarah?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to watch the whole video again to find out who made the motion and seconded it. That was a little painful. All right. So we'll do a roll call. Alex. Aye. Okay. Kim.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Zilly.
Aye.
Rosie.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
And Lynn, aye. So it's unanimous. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Night all.